Welcome to In Focus, where we discuss pressing global issues that are shaping today's world. The world is currently in a constant state of uncertainty and turmoil. In the Middle East, Israel continues striking the heart of Beirut, signaling a possible broadening of the ground operations into southern Lebanon. Over in Europe, the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine rages on for over 2 years. Significant developments continue to unfold. And in the Americas, the race for the presidency in the United States 2024 elections is soon approaching, where either candidate could potentially shape the future of world politics and events to come. We'll discuss this and more right after the break. Let's delve into the escalating tensions in the Middle East. Israel intensifies its strikes on Lebanon and Gaza, while President Biden calls for caution regarding retaliation to Iran. Joining us to analyze these developments is our special guest, the American Foreign Policy and Iranian Affairs. The recent escalations in the Middle East has seen Israel order evacuations in 20 more towns in southern Lebanon as Hezbollah intensifies its attacks on northern Israel. In response, the Israeli military launched significant strikes on southern Beirut, targeting key Hezbollah figures including Hashim Safieddin, the likely successor to Hassan Nasrallah. This bombardment coincides with destruction of vital routes, especially in the Masana border crossing, which has exacerbated the humanitarian crisis in the region. As Israel faces increasing diplomatic isolation 1 year after the October 7th attacks, potential military responses to Iran are being considered. In a significant escalation, Israel conducted its first airstrikes in the West Bank since the Second Intifada, resulting in civilian casualties, including children. This raises serious concerns about the impact of Israeli military action on Palestinian civilians and regional stability. The Israeli occupation army justified the attack by saying it intended to eliminate a local Hamas leader. To provide more analysis on the current developments and updates about rising tensions in the Middle East, we're joined by our guest from London, Mr. Nicholas Williams, a former NATO official. Welcome, Mr. Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So how significant is Iran's involvement in this conflict, especially considering the recent ballistic missile attacks on Israel?
Well, I think the first significant thing to mention is that the West, and particularly the United States, have an antagonism towards Iran that transcends either Gaza or Lebanon. And they put their antagonism, the fear of instability arising from Iranian action, they put that fear significantly above what's going on in Gaza or what's going on in Lebanon. So it is significant. Iranian actions and speeches and significant in a political sense.
Okay, and President Biden had urged Israel to reconsider attacking Iranian oil facilities. What do you think are the strategic reasons behind this call for restraint from President Biden to the Israeli officials?
Well, I think it's a signal that the United States will not tolerate attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities. And so he's let the idea float of attacking economic facilities above nuclear facilities. So it's a signal both to Iran that the United States in this case will not tolerate attacks on nuclear facilities, but will tolerate economic and military targets.
Sir, I mean, America tends, or the US administration tends to give out sort of mixed signals when it comes to the Israelis. Like they've said, like you've said, that they will not tolerate attacks on nuclear facilities, but then they come back by saying Israel has a right to defend itself, and that they would back the Israelis if things escalate between them and the Iranians, for instance. These mixed signals, do you think that they could affect the Israeli response, or is it somehow a green light, I suppose, from the US administration to sort of respond back and that there won't be a lot of backlash from them?
Well, it's an amber light, and neither red nor green. It's an indication that the American administration is confused, or at least has difficulty in determining their priorities. And the priority number one is to defend Israel against Iranian attacks, but they fear the escalation that will come from attacks against Iran. So no one knows, least of all the Americans, what the situation will be in a month's time, a week's time, and so on. They fear escalation, they fear a wider war, but they also fear attacks, unacceptable attacks against Israel.
Okay, if we could move to Lebanon and focus on what's happening there right now. The Israeli military targeted Hashem Safieddin in recent strikes. What implications does this have for Hezbollah's leadership and the future operations in general for Hezbollah?
Well, obviously, Hezbollah has been almost decapitated, but I assume that they have a significant capability left, because those capabilities are underground, they're missiles, and there will be a recovery from this decapitation, either in weeks or months. But still, for the immediate term, Hezbollah has been degraded, as the military say, degraded in capability. But it hasn't gone away, and it has garnered support from Iran in terms of Iran won't let them go away or let them be crushed. So we're on the process of escalation. Neither Iran nor Israel will want to lose this phase in the war or lose face.
Yes. But, I mean, as you're saying, it may have sort of weakened Hezbollah slightly, but if things continue to escalate, it surely must not be easy for the Israeli side to continue on. And we've seen, like, even the Israeli side is calling it small tactical incursions within south of Lebanon, because a full-on war would be devastating for the Israeli army. Is that correct?
I think so. There are other military experts that believe that Israel is winning both in Gaza and in against Hezbollah, and is deterring Iran. I don't think so. I think it's Israel is in a very difficult position, and its one hope is that Iran missteps and makes a miscalculation with bringing the American power, military power, diplomatic power, but above all military power, to bear against Iran.
Sir, if you're analyzing the situation from the outside, would you say that maybe the Israelis are provoking or poking the bear, basically, to get a reaction from the Iranians so they can have, the Americans intervene on their behalf?
Yes, in short, but I think what is understood and underestimated is the profound psychological, almost atavistic Israeli reaction to October the 7th. They feel that not superior, but they feel they have no choice. And this is how wars start. They have no choice. They recognize that there are formidable foes against them, but their one hope is to, as I say, induce Iran to a misstep. But this psychological reaction to October the 7th, I think, has been misunderstood and misrepresented, and it has driven the Israeli miscalculation, as I consider.
Unfortunately, sir, we're out of time for this segment, but I understand what you're trying to get at, that they're trying to save face, basically. But thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas Williams, a former NATO official, for joining us. Thank you for joining us on this segment. And we move on to the next segment.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it.
As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
In this segment, we turn our attention to the intensifying political battle in the United States as the 2024 presidential election approaches. We start with Le Monde's headline. Biden says he is not confident or peaceful U.S. elections as concerns around the 2024 continues to rise. President Biden has expressed doubts, citing Donald Trump's dangerous rhetoric and refusal to accept his 2020 defeat, which led to the January 6th Capitol riots. With Trump now facing indictments for allegedly attempting to subvert the election, fears are growing that while the election may be free and fair, there is a risk of violence that remains as Trump heads to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he survived an assassination attempt. The tension surrounding this election underscores the deep divide in American politics. With campaign rallies, key endorsements and new developments from both sides, the race for the White House is heating up. And we'll explore how candidates are positioning themselves in the key battleground states and the impact of high-profile endorsements. Joining us today is Dr. Frank Masmar, a political analyst and expert in U.S. election strategies based in Texas. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
For having me.
Thank you for joining us. Sir, Kamala Harris is set to campaign in key battleground states. What are her primary goals as she tries to solidify support from the Democratic voter base in these swing states?
Well, look, that doesn't matter. Now, I know that the swing states are important, but the biggest problem still in the United States that the issues that we need to tackle. So basically, to be honest with you, the Democratic Party is not tackling what's going on in the United States, like the main issues of the problems that we are living now, you know, the borders, the economy. So we have, even like in the last incident, which is very important, you know, the hurricane that happened, and we found out that the federal government ran out of funds and cannot even take care of their business. So basically, we need to talk about the most important thing, beside the point, talking about those things, those issues in those battleground states or anywhere in the United States. Does that give sense?
Yes, yes. So basically, they need to tackle issues that concern, you believe that they may be tackling issues that concern basically the youth or the younger generation who are concerned about domestic issues in addition to international issues, especially when it comes to like economic and finances, you know, the job market, the ability to get housing and so forth. Is this something that you feel the younger generation feel disenfranchised about when it comes to both candidates?
Well, basically, it's not just the younger generations. Like we're talking about an entire economy now, which is affecting everybody. And actually, like based on election and election habits and let's say voters' habits of votings, if we want to tackle things just because of the youth for the sake of their votes, actually they are the least to vote based on the history and based on statistics. So the maximum number you can get of people less than 25 it's like maybe 15%. So the people that vote in the United States, basically the volume comes from 45 years and up. So the idea is, since Biden time and then Kamala came, of course, I don't want you to understand I'm siding by any side, okay?
Yes.
But the government, the sitting government, uh, has a lot of problems that it's happened in the last 4 years. Now, they are trying to campaign to fix the problem that they uh, created themselves. Now, okay, which is okay, no problem. But here in the point, we have to be serious in tackling those and not just going after a group of people, a race, an age. The problems are the problems within the country that call the United States, not just a few states that because I want to win those states to win the election. So there is no program. There is no period. There is no agenda. It's just talk. So when we talk about economy, as an example, fixing the economy is not magic. You cannot just say, I will fix the economy by giving $6,000 credit, or I will give 50,000 credit for people that would like to have the American dream and get into business and all that kind of stuff. This is talk. This is not a plan.
So sir,
So
do you
when
think that, I understand that obviously there are a lot of major issues that are not being addressed, and probably from both candidates. Do you think, sir, that third-party candidates could play a role within what happens when it comes to presidential candidates or the presidency of 2024?
I'm sorry, like which candidate, like which
Like
party?
Jill Stein, for instance, or other third-party candidates?
Third party candidate.
Yes. They may be
Well,
low-key, but they are taking away from the votes of the Democrats and the Republicans.
Well, okay. The structure of the United States is kind of totally different than any other country. I know that we have a democracy in the United States, but it's a unique democracy. It goes through the major two parties. That's how it works.
Yes.
Now, a third party, there is like individuals and all that. It does not work like that.
Yes.
In the United States, there is a system, there is a structure. And in the meantime, it's very costly. It's a huge country. We are a continent. So like any person, any third party, anything you can imagine is not going to be able to
Compete, basically.
be able to make it to the house.
Okay, what about if we move to the Republican candidate, where Donald Trump is preparing for a major rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, with Elon Musk scheduled to also attend? How significant is Musk's presence in this rally, and what effect might it have on the Trump campaign and the voter base for Trump supporters?
Well, I see Trump is doing the same thing that Kamala is doing. They're trying to campaign all the time, heavily on those swing states. So we saw him several times in Pennsylvania, Michigan. So I understand the fact, but the idea is now here back again. It's not the significance of a rally. It's the significance of the actual plan that he is trying to talk about. And to me, as an example, as a citizen in the United States, it gives me more sense, more than Kamala's party, okay? Why? Because when we're talking about borders, we have a problem with the borders. When we're talking about a budget of FEMA, yeah, we lost the budget of FEMA because of those borders problems. When we're talking about the economy, we have problem with economy. We have inflation. We have no plans from the other part to tackle it. And actually, when Donald Trump comes and say that I will drop the energy prices 50% after the first year, that gives me more sense. I'm a doctor of economy, and I understand that fact. It's not magic because he needs that time to drop it to 50%. But when someone come and tell me that, okay, well, if you put me in office, I will do this. Okay, how are you going to do it? You have to talk to people with senses that, okay, I have a plan. I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, my take on the Democratic Party since Biden, not just Kamala, since Biden's time,
Yes.
and then of course Kamala is a continuation. They have no plan. Their plan is just
Yes.
attacking Trump and keep bringing back January 6th. Okay,
Yes.
January 6th is one of the issues, but it's not
Sir,
every issue in the United States.
I'm sorry I have to cut you off there, but we're out of time for this segment. But I understand that there seems to be confusion within what's going to happen in the future. Thank you, Dr. Frank Rosmer, for the insightful analysis. And as the elections approach, it's clear that every endorsement and rally will play a role in shaping the outcome of these elections. Stay tuned as we continue to cover the latest when it comes to U.S. political landscape. Now we explore the latest developments in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, where Ukrainian and Russian forces remain locked in an intense military operation. The Guardian reports a significant escalation in Ukraine's strategy, with a car bomb killing Andrei Korotsky, an employee at the Russian-controlled Zaporozhye nuclear plant, labeled a war criminal by Ukrainian intelligence. The attack, along with a drone strike on a Russian oil depot in Voronezh, reflects Ukraine's shift towards targeting key figures and infrastructure. As both sides intensify operations, including Ukraine's incursion into the Kursk region, the conflict stakes are rising, with major implications for both regional and global stability. From drone strikes on Russian soil to Russian advances, the conflict continues to evolve with far-reaching consequences. We'll also examine the broader international responses, including the new defense measures in Poland and Romania. Our guest today from London is Paolo Mauri, a military analyst based in Rome. Welcome, Sir Mauri.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. Sir, let's start off with Ukrainian forces intensifying their operation in Russia's Kursk region and President Zelensky emphasizing its strategic importance. How significant is this incursion and what impact does it have on the broader conflict? And is it sustainable, especially with Russia managing to curtail some Ukrainian gains in Kursk?
Well, first of all, we have to say that the operation in Kursk region has multiple targets. The first one is a tactical level. On tactical level, the chief of staff of Kiev wished to have a kind of redirecting Russian forces in the Donetsk region toward Kursk, but this doesn't happen because Russians prefer to try to stop that invasion with reservists that were already placed in the area. About the strategic level or political level, I think that Kiev wanted to have something to exchange with Russia, some kind of territory to exchange. But I don't think that between 5 and 1,000 kilometers square are a good car to exchange with Russians and all the territories they gain in these 2 years of war. So the future of this offensive in Kursk region is at stake. I mean, reinforcements are not so well displaced because that part of the region is not good for a trench operation like the other sides of the other places in Ukraine. So right now the Ukrainian forces are in tactical disadvantage. In the meantime, Russians are pushing toward Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. They never stopped this operation, and they gain much more territory in these 2 months than they made in the months before the operation in Kursk. So I think that the future of Kursk operation is almost signed.
Yes. Okay. Well, Ukraine also, along with that, has launched drone strikes on fuel depots in Voronezh, Russia. How do these strikes on a logistical facility shape the battlefield? And are they actually successful in impacting Russian supplies?
Those strikes are certainly useful, and this we can talk about the long-range weapons that already Ukraine have. But the offensive to be more useful, to create a tactical or strategic advantage must be on a full scale. Right now, we are seeing that these strikes are limited to some ammunition deposits or oil refineries and whatever. But except for the ammunition deposit, damages are not so heavy. So I think that in the whole complex of this conflict, this is not going to be a game changer. These operations are not going to be a game changer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paolo Mauri, for providing your valuable insights into the evolving conflict. And as this war continues to unfold, the stakes remain high, not only for the combatants, but for the international community as well. We will follow this story as it keeps developing. That wraps up today's episode of In Focus. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to cover the stories shaping our world. Thank you for watching.